this is a weekly Dartcast, and I am Ellis Cole, representing Russ Bray on the 180.
I'm pleased to say we're joined by the Chief Executive of the PDC, Matt Porter. Thanks for the time, Matt. How are you doing?
Anytime. Yeah, very well, Alex. Nice to see you again.
Well, usually we do these chats over the phone, whatever, so great to see you.
Special occasion.
It is a special occasion, and in Manchester, night 10 of the Premier League. We're over halfway now into the season. How would you assess how it's gone so far?
Look, I think it's been fascinating. You know, we've seen 5 different players win nights. Obviously, 2 players win 3 in a row, looking like they were going to dominate it. But then, obviously, Michael van Gerwen sort of struggled a little bit more in recent weeks. Peter's found it tough, which is surprising, really, because his form in other events over the last couple of months has been pretty good. Gezi's perhaps not found top gear yet either. But that's what the beauty of this format means, that there's still so much for them to play for week in, week out. So, I'm looking forward to the next 6 weeks or so before we get to see who the final 4 are.
Well, this is the 20th year of the Premier League. It's been going for quite a while now.
Makes me feel old. I remember night 1 in Stoke.
Yeah, we used to have the Colchester Leisure Centre. That was a big venue back in the day. But Burton and I, we were discussing on the show recently what could be the next step in the evolution of the Premier League. And Burton was going an opening night in Paris, Rome, Vegas, be close to him. I was saying Belgium, Poland, some more European venues. For you, what do you see as the next move?
Look, I think it's certainly time to assess other countries that we could go into, and we are doing that. You have to remember, it's not just a case of saying where would be good. The Premier League involves a lot of input from Sky, from sponsors, and it has to be in a territory and a venue that works for them as well, because ultimately someone's got to pay the bills. So we can't pay the bills if we haven't got support either from fans or from commercial partners. So it's not just a case of saying, right, where would be fun, because all those places you mentioned would be great fun, but they've got to work as well.
Well, we've got a couple of questions in. We haven't talked about him yet, so let's talk about him now. Luke Littler, it's been a manic last few months in the world of darts. What has it been like for the PDC? Because we've seen the interest in darts. It's just gone off the scale, hasn't it?
It has, and it's something that we obviously hadn't anticipated prior to the World Championship, because nobody would have thought he would have made the final and then turned the darts world upside down in the way that he has done. But I think it's something we've dealt with quite well. It's been a learning curve. It's been a lot of unforeseen things, a lot of surprising things. But Luke's taken it all in his stride. It's not affected his game. Nobody could say his game suffered as a result. I love this, just let him play darts. Well, we are. He's just playing darts, but he's also doing some interviews as well. It's fine. He doesn't just have to either lie in bed or play darts. He can do other things in his life, and he's doing them all really well. He's got lots of newfound friends in high places at Man United and in the media and places like that. But it's not fazed him at all. And good luck to him, because one thing you never know. Look, it's not like in football where someone says, "Oh, he's had a good season, so he'll go and sign a 5-year contract now, and that'll set him up for life." It doesn't work like that in darts. If he stops hitting as much as he's hitting, and his ranking plummets, and people stop asking him for interviews and stuff, things will change for him. So he's got to capitalise while make hay while the sun shines, as the phrase goes, and he's definitely doing that on and off the board. Good luck to him.
Definitely, and for you guys, you were obviously there, you were seeing it all unfold during the World Championship. At what point during those few weeks at Ali Pali did you think, wow, this is going to be a big change 2024 for us? Probably
the quarterfinals. Yeah, probably when he made it through to the last 8. And it's that, for us, the World Championship is split into 3 very definite parts. You've got the first round and the prelim before Christmas, or round 1 and round 2 as it is now, but last 96 and last 64 before Christmas. And that's very much a genre of its own, with the pre-Christmas atmosphere. You only see the top players once, then they disappear again for 10 days or longer, So that very much has its own feel to it. Then in that middle period, it's very intense. You go from having 32 players left to 8 players left in the blink of an eye, and people are playing every day. Complete contrast. And then you have a day's break, and everyone takes stock, and they start talking about who's going to win it. And then it's the real big boys who come back for the last 3 days, whether it's top of the rankings or top of the form tree. The guys who have come back from January the 1st onwards, they're hitting everything, they're confident, they want to be they're focused on being world champion. And it was at that point really when Luke made the last 8 that we start to feel that it wasn't just he's had a couple of good games. It was there might be something a little bit more here.
And one thing I was going to touch on as well, towards the end of that World Championship as well, there was a bit of talk online when we got to the final. Could we see the final on free-to-air television? Was that ever on the cards? Any discussion?
No, I don't think so. I mean, look, it wasn't something we'd have been opposed to for obvious reasons, but in the same vein, you have to respect what Sky have done for darts and for the PDC, and they deserve that headline figure of 4 million viewers, whatever it was, because of the investment that they've made in the sport over the last 3 decades. So, I think it's easy for a broadcaster to say, oh yeah, well, give us the World Championship final. It's like, okay, well, where's your support for the rest of the year?
Yeah.
Where are you when we've got other tournaments that we want you to show? Because anyone can just say, oh yeah, sure, well, give me the best content.
Yeah.
And I think free to air is obviously important in the sporting world, but the way that the world is now, there aren't many people who don't have access to pay TV, either through their own subscriptions, through pubs, or perhaps through slightly more grey routes, which I won't talk into. But it's not like it was in the 90s or the early 2000s when there was only a very select or a small number of people who had pay subscriptions.
That's fair enough. Well, let's stick with Sky because they have been a long time partner for the PDC. You signed a 7-year deal with them at the end of 2017 up to 2025. Obviously, you mentioned the record viewing figures for the final. Is that a partnership you're looking to get that
absolutely
deal over?
Yeah, I mean, look, our deal with Sky is entering its final year, and they're, as I say, a long-term partner for us. They're absolutely first-class partner for us, and we want that partnership to continue long into the next decade. So the conversations are beginning, and hopefully it'll be smooth, nice and smooth, and we can carry on moving forward together.
Well, let's get on to this season then. We're a few months in, and there was a big change, a lot of talk on social media about this as well, the European Tour qualifying criteria. We spoke with Ian White a few months ago, and he said, well, back in the day it did used to be the top 16, then it changed to the Pro Tour top 16, now it's both of them put together. How did it come about, that move?
I think we had to look at a number of factors. We had to look at the overall strength of the field. We had to look at the number of players that were in the event that were coming through one-off qualifying tournaments. We felt that was too high. We had to look at the number of opportunities that there were for or the number of rewards there were for players based on their rankings. One thing that's often said to us is that the main order of merit doesn't have enough clout in terms of enough events where you're rewarded for your position in the world order of merit, the main order of merit. So we wanted to look at that, and I think this hit the nail right on the head, and you've kind of alluded to it there with what you referenced with Ian White. If the current format now had been the format from day one, nobody would have batted an eyelid.
Yeah.
Everyone would have thought, yeah, that's pretty logical, 3 lots of 16, and it makes sense. But that doesn't mean that just because that we were in a different place. We as you know, and anyone who follows the darts will know, we will always change things if we think it will make things better. And I think it would take somebody very, very one-eyed to turn around and say that the first 2 tournaments of this year have been any worse than anything you'd have seen before. The standard, I wasn't able to watch the whole of the Easter weekend, but I was getting the scores through, and the averages were a joke. The crowds were fantastic. The European Tour is in a strong place, and this format, this qualification criteria, I think makes it stronger.
One more on the Euro Tour as well. We have got a new destination this year. We're going to Switzerland for the first time. We speak with everyone. We spoke to one of the co-founders of the SDC a few years ago when they'd just started, and obviously to get an event in Switzerland is big for them. What's the interest like for that event? So
strong. Particularly in the German part of Switzerland. French-speaking Europe, whether it be Belgium, Switzerland, or France, is only just starting to emerge. So you have to walk before you can run. But clearly in the German-speaking part of Switzerland, particularly the demand is huge.
And the UK Open, also in the books for this year. I made my unsuccessful return to the Riley's qualifiers. You didn't see me in Minehead, so that tells you how well I got.
I was looking out for you on board 7, Alex.
Well, I got to the first round, so I done all right. But, And the qualifiers next year, any news on if they're going to...
No, it's a bit early. We're always looking to assess that, and see what the right way to go with that is. We're mindful that it's important that the conditions at the qualifiers are as good as they can be, and we have to keep an eye on whether that's always the case. So Riley's again have been a good partner of ours over many years and have produced some fine players. You can name plenty of top players who've come through Riley's qualifiers, and increasingly now more and more are doing so. I think one thing that's certainly changed over the last decade is that the amateur qualifiers for the UK Open are not really unknown players anymore.
Yeah.
They're now players from the Challenge Tour or from the WDF circuit, or players who play in Motor Super Series or whatever. But they're not really just people off the street as they maybe were 10 years ago. So we have to see how that's changed things, and look at if what we're doing at the moment is the right thing or not.
Fair enough. I think that's why I didn't win the qualifier.
Probably.
I'm an unknown player.
Draw was fixed, I reckon.
That as well, yeah. But a story which we've got to talk about as well, it's attracted a lot of attention, is Noah-Lynn van Leuven winning the Challenge Tour, Women's Series as well.
Yeah.
First trans woman to play in the Women's World Match Play last year. Meets all the rules that the PDC follow, but we still get the negative comments online. The PDC, you've even had to mute the comments on social media. Is that something that you're monitoring at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very sensitive issue, and clearly it's not just darts that's being affected, and we have to be very conscious of Noah-Lynn's personal situation in terms of her own mental health, and frankly the level of abuse that she was receiving from some quarters is just unacceptable, and there's no grounds whatsoever for anybody to be voicing their opinions in such offensive ways. So whether it was right or not to mute the comments is something we're reviewing, something that we're taking advice from people who are perhaps operating in that space more regularly than we are. But it was a decision we took at the time, and one we supported. But essentially for us, look, the PDC has always been about inclusion and openness. Contrary to what some people who are perhaps newer to darts think, it's not like we have men's events. We have some women's events, clearly, but we don't really have men's events. In fact, we don't have men's events at all. So when I read headlines about how Noah-Lynn had won a women's event and a men's event in the same week from a national newspaper, it's just an absolute disgrace.
Yeah.
It's an absolute disgrace. And I've said elsewhere about the standard of clickbait on darts since the World Championship, whether it's Luke Littler, Noah-Lynn, Michael Van Gerwen, Luke Humphries, whoever they're talking about, is disgusting. And there's a lot of people out there who are calling themselves journalists who really need to start looking at themselves on that basis, particularly when they're writing for well-established titles. Now, I'm not talking about, for clarity, the people who cover darts week in and week out. They understand the sport, they know the sport, they respect the sport, and they write high quality material. But a lot of people who have decided to capitalise on darts' newfound position in society and just churn out stuff that is often offensive, almost always inaccurate and misleading. It's really not good enough. As I say, if somebody just starts up their own website and churns out any old rubbish, you can expect that. But when it's a major national newspaper, that's just not good enough.
Can't argue with that. And one more question before we finish up with a few from our listeners. Sad news as well in the last few weeks. Dick Alex, one of the PDC co-founders, passing away. Again, we had the pleasure of chatting to him for our Darts Legends series because of what he did for the game as well. I know you said he was a great help for you over the years. So how is he going to be remembered?
Yeah, Dick is someone who we we'll really miss. He'd obviously been retired for a few years, but he was a Hall of Famer. He was always popping in and staying on the phone. He represented a few of the sort of commentators and reporters and stuff. So we were still in regular contact, and he was one of the pioneers. He was one of the people who took the PDC, or founded the PDC, but then took it from halls to arenas, took it across borders into new countries, and he had a vision, and he was very capable. He did a lot of the nuts and bolts work. You maybe wouldn't have seen him in front of camera or banging his fist on the table, but people behind the scenes have to make it work for those who are going to go and put their head above the parapet, and he was definitely one of those people. So it was a big shame. He was a good age, Dick, but it would have been nice if he'd have had a little bit longer, and it's we're sorry to have lost him.
finish up just with some listener questions before we let you go. Poison Ivy Darts, do you see a future where dart players will have coaches in a similar role to golfers or other sportsmen? It's
interesting because we're quite conscious of the fact that darts is one of the only professional sports where there isn't really a coaching system. You know, I mean, it is essentially quite basic. You hit or you miss, and whether you do that with your eyes open or your eyes closed or your hand high or your hand low or whatever, it's kind of up to you, isn't it? Exactly, yeah. You know, it's whatever works. I mean, if you look at the top 10 players now or the top 10 players in history, they've all got different throwing styles and they all work for them at some certain times and don't at other times. Clearly there are some basics that, you know, you can be taught, and I think that you're seeing that now in the academies, the JDC academies. That's where the sort of first generation of coaches, if you like, are coming through. But then you've got people like Wayne Mardle and Glenn Durrant, you know, people who've been at the top level of the game who are offering their expertise in a, you know, one-to-one environment as well. So I don't think it's ever going to be like maybe like a tennis player and coach relationship, but I think what you'll have are people who players turn to just for little hints and tips and bits of tweaking, or maybe studying video analysis of players should watch their own throw. You know, if you're an amateur, buy a tripod on Amazon for $5 and stick your phone camera and whichever board you practice on, just film yourself and watch. Does your body stay in the same position? You know, is your head in the same position? Is your movement the same? Are you doing the same thing time after time? Because it's really easy with darts to assume something, but you need that evidence to back it up. And I think, you know, pros certainly should be doing it, watching when their form falls away, watching videos back of themselves to see what's changed. So, as I say, I don't think you'll have a day-to-day coaching like you may be doing other sports, but I do think it will become more frequent that people have someone to turn to.
Some good advice there. And Richard, he's Irish-based. He says if the PDC can't get the World Grand Prix back to Ireland, would you consider another TV event, maybe an Irish Masters World Series or a Euro?
To be honest, it's not about the World Grand Prix, it's about the venues. You know, we are, and I say this in every single interview I do with, you know, darts media, we are really trying to find a venue in Ireland, and there really aren't any. You know, we looked at one and it's being closed and then refurbished and reopened and blah blah blah, and obviously we've lost the City West, and the Three Arena is great for a Premier League show, but it's way too big for a run-of-the-mill show. So it's tough, but we are, and I don't want to keep sounding like a stuck record, but we are desperate to bring an event back to Ireland.
All right, the next one is asking about Canada as well. Could we have a Canadian stop on the World Series, similar to grouping the New Zealand and Australia?
Yeah, hopefully. You know, we're not in a strong position with broadcasters in Canada at the moment, and that's a fundamental part of a World Series event, that we can get it showcased to a domestic audience. You know, I mean, the World Series isn't really about fans who watch the darts week in, week out. It's about taking it to new audiences, you know. So if we can't get a broadcaster in Canada that's going to be showing the darts week in, week out, it's unlikely, but we know from a player perspective and from a fan perspective that there is demand there. So hopefully we can change the broadcast position. We're trying very hard and get something off the ground.
And Henrik wants to know, it's a player question, he's been a big part of the PDC over the years. Adrian Lewis, he was at the Night of Champions last year. He's not played for a long time on the tour. Any news of him coming back?
No, not that we know of. You know, we saw Adrian at the UK Open. He went down and did a little bit of hosting work for the venue. He's in good spirits, he's in good shape, but he's got his own issues to deal with at the moment. So we're not putting him under any pressure. He knows we've contacted him. The PDPA have contacted him a number of times. He knows where we are. We're there to help him and support him, and we'd love to see him back, but he's got to make that decision himself.
And the last two, probably the two most important ones actually. George Dobson, what would Matt's darts nickname and walk-on song be?
Oh, great question. Do you know what? That's probably the first time I've ever been asked that. I might have to hold the answer back, and I'll message you when I think of the answer and you can put it out. I don't know, my nickname, I mean, I'm 6'6", so you could probably come up with a nickname about my height, Shorty or something like that, you know. But yeah, walk on tune, I don't know. I'll come up with something. I'll come up with something that people can abuse me for.
What do Leighton Orient walk out to?
Oh, we walk out to a 1950s jazz tune called Tijuana Taxi by Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. If I played that at the darts, it would kill the event immediately. Right. There is no chance of it being that. Maybe London Calling by the Clash.
Nice,
yeah, I'm going to go with that. London Calling by the Clash.
All right, we'll take the nickname to the media room.
Yeah, do that.
And lastly, Concord Darts. Screw all these boring questions. Here's a real one: bacon sandwich, red or brown sauce?
Oh, I'm easy either way. Probably going to go brown, but I'm totally fine with red as well. So both together.
Happy days. Good place to finish it, Matt.
Good stuff. Always fun. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks very much for your time, and all the best for the rest of the year.
And thanks to all your listeners for the support as well. Much appreciated.
Nathan, commiserations wasn't to be in the semi-final, but how much confidence can you take from what you've produced here in Manchester?
I think for me, the first game was the game for me tonight. Obviously, last year I felt the nerves. What reception I've had. You know, I can't thank the crowd enough. It's been absolutely amazing. I've enjoyed both games so much, and I played really well against Rob. I think I found my game at the back end of the match against Luke there, but the start of it was pretty poor by both of us, and I think we both knew it was a big opportunity to finish second of the table tonight. But I'm going to take the positives from it. The first game is massive. Them 2 points are massive at the moment, the way the table is, I'm just buzzing. My kids were there, my family were there. Got to witness that amazing atmosphere, which was electric, something I've never heard before. It was special. It was emotional. I'm not gonna lie. It was amazing.
We've seen players talk about they've had their moment in arenas. John in Aberdeen, Willie in Dublin. Do you feel that you've had your moment?
Yeah.
No.
That first time, then I did an interview with Viaplay after, and I was really in tears. And it was like, obviously I sacrificed so much. I travelled all over the world to try and provide for my family, and my family were there tonight. And you know, for my mum, my kid, forget about my mum, my kids, for my kids to hear 12,000 people chanting their daddy's name, and I felt that on stage. You know, I'm looking out the side and I can see my kids there, and it was a special occasion tonight, and I'm really happy with how I handled myself in the first game. And I think I had so much emotion and energy into that first game. I could started off so flat in that match then against Luke, but listen, it's a big 2 points. It keeps me in the top 4, puts the pressure on the rest of the boys. So I'm going to leave Manchester very happy.
It was heartbreak last year missing out on the final, but have you learned so much from the approach and what you need to do so that doesn't happen again in terms of this league phase?
Yeah, I've got a box up before the final night. I think I'm playing Michael next week, Van Gerwen, so that's a big game. You know, he's under pressure. He's not been performing well in the Premier League stage. One game I believe I can win. The magic number's 24. I'm on 18, so I'm 6 points away with 6 weeks left. It's a pretty good position to be in, better than last year anyway. So now I'm confident. My game getting better and better week in, week out. Nowhere near my A game, but I'm still in the top 4, playing my B game. So the rest of them best step up on there.
Nathan, many congratulations.
Cheers, mate.
Nathan, I know you were bitterly disappointed about how it went here last year. How were the nerves coming into tonight?
The nerves were good. I think I learned massively from last year. I was an absolute bag of nerves last year. I'm about to say it. Can I say what I'm about to say?
I don't know.
Shit myself. Literally, last year. I absolutely bricked it last year, but I've learned from that, and I went into tonight going, you know what, I'm in a good position in the league table. Win or lose, I'm just going to enjoy myself tonight. And that was the plan. That was the game plan. I didn't care if I lost against Rob. I really didn't. I just wanted to enjoy the walk on, let my family enjoy the occasion. And I came out with a win first game, so that was a bit sweet. But yeah, it would have been nice to beat Luke, but it wasn't to be. But I'm still in the top 4, and all eyes on Birmingham.
Just describe the feeling having 11,000 people eating out the palm of your hands.
Unbelievable. That, you guys travel with us doing the media, and I try and explain it to fans or to my family, and you cannot explain that feeling. And I've got this weird little thing now where I point to myself when they say Mr. Brightside. Cringe, but as the guy doing it on the stage with them all shouting back it is mega. But honest to God, it is amazing. It's when you're a kid, you dream of being a footballer, a golfer, or whatever. I'm a dart player, but I'm still getting the same buzz as a footballer walking out Old Trafford or Wembley. I got that buzz tonight, and I've just I'm a dart player. I'm a 32-year-old lad from Stockport that's living his dream. I've lived my dream tonight. My family were there to experience it. So, in a great respect, I can't give 2 dime things about the darts tonight. I've just had a great night.
Cheers, Nathan.
Nathan, as you say, boy from Stockport, and as Jay was just saying there, you had that great moment coming on stage. From the camera behind you, would you have ever believed it would look like Freddie Mercury's moment in Live Aid doing Radio Gaga? You actually had your arms out and the whole place. I mean, that's again, like Phil was saying, it was massive moments.
Yeah, it's spine tingling. And you know what? There was a moment, and I said it to Gez after the game. There was a moment where I took the 108 out in the first match, and the crowd were so much behind me. And I played Gezi the last 2 years in Cardiff, and it kind of felt in my head. I'm thinking this must be how Gezi felt because I've never felt like that, because last year I played at Manchester, I got absolutely ironed out by Mike Smith, so he was never cheering me on. He absolutely battered me. So I've never experienced anything like that, and I felt I dealt with the situation really well. I played great in the first match, but again, like I keep saying, first game was the key. Win that first game, get them 2 points on the board, but enjoy your night. And you know, I'm walking away from here. I've got a flight in the morning. I've got an exhibition in Germany at 6:40 a.m. But I've enjoyed my night tonight. I can't thank the crowd enough. I put out on Instagram, you know, all week. Come on, fellow Manx, get behind me, make it the best ever, and that'll take some topping.
What makes Nathan Aspinall? Because you've turned in and you've carved this character out of yourself and this personality on stage, where you are such a difficult guy to beat. You find ways of getting yourself back up in matches, and if you get to that top 4 and you get to that final, you are going to be feared, aren't you?
Yeah, I think what makes Nathan Aspinall is the same guy he was when he was 14 years of age. I've never changed, and I never will. You know, I'm not going to name no names, but players in the world of darts, when they achieve success, they change people, personalities. I'm a little chav from Stockport, always will be. Say what you want, I'm a little chav from Stockport, and I'm proud of that. Do you know what I mean? And I work my knackers off to provide for my family, to provide, you know, amazing holidays, because I miss so much. And all I want to do, I go on that stage and I just work my balls off to try and provide for my family, have a smile on my face, enjoy every single moment, because listen, anyone at 16 years of age when they leave school wants to be a footballer, golfer, dart player, whatever. I'm living my dream. I'm travelling the world, earning money, being a sportsman. And if you can't be happy doing that, then you need to do something with yourself, because I'm living my dream and never changed. And I think that is the reason why I am like I am, because I might be losing against someone, and at the end of the day, it's a game of darts. You know, I mean, still going to my family. We've still got a holiday booked in August or whatever, and I just put a smile on my face. And if I'm losing, I have a picture of my kids on my case. I look at that picture and I think that's what I'm doing it for. You know, I'm not fully soppy, but at the end of the day, I'm a dad, and the most important thing to me is Kirsty and my 2 girls. It's a game of darts. If I win, mega. If I lose, so what? I'll go on and see my kids. So I think that's why I'm a very, very tough opponent.
Nathan, does this Premier League almost sum you up perfectly? Because you said that you're not playing at your best and it was a difficult start, yet you're up there fighting and in a great position now to make the O2. Yeah,
I think so. I think, look at weekend, you know, I was in Germany at weekend, I was 4-1 down against Dirk van Dijvenbode. He was averaging 126 against me, and I beat him 6-4. You know, I'm never beaten, and I think, you know, I'm actually, even though he's just absolutely beat me there and he's eyeing me out the last 3 times, Luke, you know, I'm trying to help Luke to try and get, he's a better dart player than me, no hands down, but he hasn't got the head like I've got the head, and I'm trying to talk to him and trying to help him out to try and get that mindset in his game that, you know, if you're losing 3-0, 4-0, they've won 4 legs on the bounce. They're not as good as you, so you can win 4 legs on the bounce. If you see, and that's my mentality in them situations. And you know, I'm working with Luke and trying to help him out to try and put that in his head. You know, the rest of the lads probably don't want me to say that, because if he has my head with his ability, we might as well all back up, aren't we? To be quite honest with you. But no, it's who I am as a person. It's a game of blue darts at the end of the day, and you know, I go up there, try my best, and you know, if it's not going to plan, I'll dig deep as much as I can. If I lose, I lose. If I win, happy days.
You mentioned it before, you've got Michael van Gerwen next week.
Yeah.
He's no longer the world number 1. A lot of people will say that he's not the best player in the world anymore. So do you players now look at van Gerwen differently to perhaps what you did 12 months ago?
I reckon if you ask that question to the other 7 lads in the practice room, they'd probably say yeah, but I don't. For me, van Gerwen will and always will be the best player in the world. For me, when I first started, he was my Phil Taylor. Michael knows how much I respect him, how much I look up to Michael, and we're really good mates. Is he the best player at the moment? No. I think we all know who that man is. But for me, he's still the guy. So he's going to be, whenever we play Michael, it's always a pinch me moment, and it still is. But I think I'm going to get the job done next week because the pressure's on him. You know, I've had a great run. I think I've had 4 finals out of the last 6 weeks. I'm in a great run of form, and I'm not playing my best. The pressure's on Michael next week, not me. So I think if I can go up there, do what I've done tonight, enjoy the moment, and I think I'll win.
Luke Littler, congratulations. Won last week, backed it up this week. Just sum up how you're feeling after a dramatic night here in Manchester.
I just glad I got over the line once again. Snuck into first by a point over Luke. But yeah, the first game against Michael weren't really the best. And then I picked up against Nathan and Gezi.
Does this one mean more than last week because of where we are?
100%.
Is that the only reason to say?
Yeah.
I know the first one's special, but
yeah.
Can this be topped?
Not at the minute. Not until the next major. But winning in front of these fans just means a lot.
Top of the table now as well. You're top of this Premier League. That's some statement. Premier League debut, back-to-back wins. Now you are top of the pile against these established pros, almost rewriting the books here.
Obviously, Emma said it's 24 points in to get you in, but I'm not just going to go next week and change my dart or something. I'm just going to have to keep plugging away and keep picking up more points.
Are you looking at, or did you look at a points tally before the Premier League, and now do you feel that you are at the O2?
I want to say I am at the O2, but I can't at the same time. As soon as I see my name that says a little Q next to it that says qualified, then that's when I'm in.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Luke, when you saw Gezi hit that 9-darter in the semi-finals, were you expecting a lot more from him in the final?
I'd say so, but as we say, it's hard to back it up. As soon as you play well in one game, it's hard to back it up the next. And I just thought he weren't really at it. He was very pacey. He weren't at his normal throw-in, but I just had to get on my game.
And just describe the feeling of having 11,000 fans singing your walk-on song back to you.
It was unbelievable. I think Nathan's was better than my walk-on though.
There's an exclusive group of players who've won 3 in a row. What would that mean to you next week in Birmingham if you could do that?
It would mean a lot. Obviously it'd be my 3rd weekly win. But like I said, I'll keep picking up those points.
And what have you learned from this Premier League campaign so far?
It's tough every week, it's not easy. And you just got to pick up points every week somehow.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Luke, this story just continues to roll on. 9 darters, winning on Euro Tour, Pro Tour debuts, and now you're top of the Premier League. Do you put your head on the pillow sometimes and think, what is going on here? Or do you pinch yourself at one stage and think, this is really happening? Is this not a dream?
I just try and live my life as I have done, but I just, as a 17-year-old boy, I just know that travelling on Wednesday to Manchester, Birmingham, wherever, and just every week playing these guys who have been looking up to it, I just thrive off it and just gets me pumped up for it.
And of course, this week building up to it, you've had all the spotlight on you as well with the BBC. You actually went wall to wall on the BBC on Wednesday. You've taken it in your stride, and you've not only talked the talk, you've walked the walk and won as well. So again, how do you stop yourself getting carried away? Do you actually just kind of manage to box it off somehow and just stay in your little zone?
That's all I do. I just stay in my zone. And I communicate with people sometimes. If not, I just do what I do. Just put my AirPods in and practice.
Thank you.
Luke, you beat Michael van Gerwen again tonight. The 3rd time in a row you've beaten him. Do you see yourself as favourite now when you go into games with Michael?
We all know he's not playing to his best ability, and certainly I didn't against him. But the scrappier games are the better ones to win. Just drag yourself over the line. But every time I've beat Michael, it's been pretty comfortable. 6-2s or 6-3s. And then when he's beat me, we've had to go to a last leg. But yeah, we know he's not playing well, and I'm just glad to get the better of him while he's playing bad.
And we've seen, particularly over the past 2 weeks, sometimes you've got that smooth action and sometimes you've got that stop. Do you think about that before you go on stage, what you're going to do, or is it just in the moment, whichever feels right?
It's just those 9 practice darts that we have. just throwing a smooth throw and going in well. But if they're not going well, then I'll change it up and I'll just do what's comfortable for myself.
We saw you did a media day with the BBC. You said to us months and months ago that you're not a morning person, so you're starting to get used to these early rides.
Not really, but I was kind of needed to be up.
Cheers, Luke. Thank you.
Thank you.
Luke, were Manchester United winning when you went on stage?
Yeah, 3-2.
You were winning. How did you find out that obviously that happened when you were playing?
Watching it. Yeah, so we were winning 3-2 and then Sean scored. And then, Cole Palmer, we conceded a penalty and then he scored again.
So that happened before the match?
Yeah.
Did that put you in a bad mood then?
Yeah, I was like, I'm winning this now.
Motivation, did it?
Yeah, it did.
It's good for you to give. I mean, a lot of fans in the stadium would have been like a bit disappointed with what happened at Chelsea, so you've given something to cheer about, haven't you?
Yeah, there was a few Manchester United fans on the walk-on when I was playing Aspinall. I was like, I'm going to go out here now, and everyone knows we've lost. But yeah, I was glad to win.
Luke, you had 2 YouTubers in attendance today, what you've been collabing with over the past few weeks. How obviously you're spending so much time doing other things away from the dartboard. How important are those collaborations to you to get more eyes on the sport? It's what I do. After I play FIFA Pro Clubs, and then Morgan and Jack, they play Pro Clubs as well, so we've just all been playing, and it kind of just settles me down when I've got an off day and I just chill with them. You've obviously been on a few YouTuber podcasts recently as well. Me and you aren't that dissimilar in age, and obviously I grew up watching the Sidemen like you did. Was that quite a bit of a pinch me moment in your journey so far? It was just crazy. After I met Ethan at the Worlds, but to meet JJ and Harry, it was just like a dream come true. I've been watching them for many years since they've all been playing FIFA, and that's where I started watching them from. And obviously they'll have a completely different audience to the normal darts viewers. How important is that to getting new eyes onto the sport, you doing things such as that? It may help the sport, it may not, but I'm just grateful for getting these opportunities to go on podcast and visiting all these places. Cheers, Luke.
Luke, just from me, in terms of Liverpool coming up in a few weeks, you are quite clearly a Red, a Man United fan. Are you going to be ready for the reception you might get there? I've been waiting since we beat them in the FA Cup. And I think they'll be on Gezzy's side, but I'm just going to have to just plug away and get those points. Will that motivate you, do you think, to get it done? Maybe silence the crowd? Yeah, if I do win, then I will silence them, but I'll just do it until I won't do anything if I win, and if I don't win, then it'll be good luck to Gezzy. Spot on, thank you.
Luke, you averaged 114 in Nottingham against Michael Van Gogh, and you've hit 3 9-darters already. Do you believe you're the best scorer on tour?
I'm up there with the very best, but that's what helps us the most, scoring, and you've got to find your way to the double and hit it.
And you've done some amazing things while you've played darts. You've had some amazing experiences. You've been on the Jonathan Ross show. You've been on the Happy Hour podcast. How has that support impacted you? Has it helped your game?
It has, and like I said, it's just when it's an off day, I'm getting these opportunities to meet these guys who I've been looking up to, and just have a normal chat with them, and just talk about what I do in my spare time. It just chills me out.
And you've already won a Players' Championship. You've won on the Euro Tour. Have you already exceeded your expectations for this year, or have you aspired to achieve even more than what you already have?
I just come to the Premier League every week. If there's a Pro Tour on the weekend, then we'll go straight to the Pro Tour or the Euro Tour. But now I don't want to set any expectations or win any majors. I just let me darts do the talking and see where they land.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Luke, you going to watch Mania this weekend?
No, I'm not into it anymore.
No?
That's where my walk-on come from.
Yeah, that's what I say.
Mania 33 now. Might watch the main event.
Does Cody finish the story?
I hope so.